Hey guys, my name is Mr. Taylor. Today we're going to talk a little bit about factoring. So glad you could join us. Let's see what we can figure out. Okay, so let's review a little bit about how to multiply binomials. Now remember, binomials just means something with two terms. X plus 2, that's two terms. You have the x and you have the plus 2. That's a binomial. Then we have the x minus 5. That's a binomial. So how do we multiply these together? Well, what I like to do first is multiply each of the first terms in the parentheses together. X times x is an x squared. I also want to multiply the last terms together. The positive 2 and the negative 5. That gives me a negative 10. What if I look at the extreme outside numbers? The x times the negative 5, that's a negative 5x. And then the two inside terms, the 2 and the x, gives me a 2x. Now notice those two have the same terms. They can be added together. I don't have anything else with the x squared and the negative 10, so I'm going to leave them alone. But when I add a negative 5x plus a 2x, I get a negative 3x. So multiplying these two binomials together, I get an x squared minus a 3x minus a 10. Make sure you know how to multiply binomials, because sometimes that's all you have to do on the TSI. You can just multiply all the answer choices until you get the answer to the problem that it started with. Okay? So factoring is just undoing the multiplication. What if I asked you to factor the exact same problem we just multiplied? X squared minus 3x minus 10. We solved this already. So we know what the answer should be. Let's see if we can factor and get it ourselves. Y'all, are there two numbers that can multiply to be a negative 10? What is that very last number? Negative 10. So that's what we're looking for. What are two numbers that multiply to be a negative 10? And those same two numbers, do they add to a negative 3? Notice that negative 3 is the term in the middle. So we're seeing what multiplies to be the last number and what adds to be the middle number. And I realize that the only two numbers that do that are a positive 2 and a negative 5. So that's how we factor. We chose positive 2 and negative 5, and we get x plus a 2 and x minus a 5. That's factoring. Now sometimes they get a little more difficult. Sometimes they like to put a number in front of the x squared. And when they do that, y'all, there's an extra step or two we have to go through. Okay, you're still going to ask yourself, okay, 2 times negative 12. That's the first term and the last term. Multiply them together. That's a negative 24. So that's kind of an extra step we haven't done before. So find two numbers that multiply to a negative 24. Not the negative 12 like we saw in the first problem. This time you multiply the 2 in the front times the negative 12 in the back. Two numbers that multiply to a negative 24, but hey, it still adds to the middle term, the positive 5. So here's a list of numbers I made. 2 times a negative 12, 3 times a negative 8, 4 times a negative 6, negative 3 times a ooh, that one did work. Okay, a negative 3 and a positive 8 multiplies to a negative 24. But when I add, I get a positive 5. And those are the two magic numbers we were looking for. So we want to split the middle term. And we're going to use the two numbers we just came up with, negative 3 and positive 8. So I'm going to write the problem that looks like this. 2x squared didn't change. 5x, though, we were going to rewrite it. Negative 3x plus 8x. And then we kept the minus 12. Okay, we want to try to group these together now. So I'm going to group the first two terms together and the last two terms together. So when I look at the first group, 2x squared minus a 3x, what do they have in common? Notice the only thing both of these terms have is the letter x. Specifically, they have a positive x. Now, sometimes people I know don't write the positive sign, but it's okay if you do. So if I'm able to divide both of these by a positive x, we're left with a 2x minus a 3. All right, good job. Looking at my second group, that's my 8x minus my 12. What do these guys have in common? Now, this is a little bit tougher. They don't have any letters in common, but they do have a number in common. Both of these terms, 8x and negative 12, are divisible by 4. More specifically, they're divisible by a positive 4. So if I take my 8x and divide it by a positive 4, we get to keep a 2x in the parentheses. Negative 12 divided by a 4 is a negative 3. Notice what happens here. Both of these groups now have something in common. That tells you you did something right. Both of these terms have a 2x minus 3 in our parentheses. So all I want to do is, hey, what's left over if I get rid of the 2x's minus the 3's? Oh, what's left over? I see a positive x and I see a positive 4. Guess what? Those are now your two factors. What do they have in common? 2x minus 3. That's your first factor. What's left over? X plus 4. That's my second factor. And congratulations, guys. You just factored. Well, kind of like we split the middle term. Looks like it's time for us to split too, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.